Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by Galadon Gaming. Clash Royale action. Amazing, wild, crazy, epic, close clutch, come from behind wins. Yes, you know this game sets it up so that there are so many of these, but we've been seeing more and more recently. Not sure if it's the playing style or the cards, or maybe just the balancing is just about right. But right here we've got White facing Le Merciful, and both players have a deck that is focused around one big tank card. White has the Golem and Le Merciful has the P.E.K.K.A. But you'll also notice Le Merciful is using the relatively new Lumberjack, which we have not seen a great deal of in trophy pushing yet, either because A, people have not leveled up the card very much, or two, they're just not that familiar with how to use it and how to get that rage time down perfectly to use it to its fullest effect. And obviously with a P.E.K.K.A. in your deck, that is super dangerous. The enraged P.E.K.K.A., I hate to even see this, and that is what we are about to see right here. Here comes the Lumberjack, the lightning spell, the Lumberjack just about to fall, goes down, rage spell in effect, P.E.K.K.A. on its way to the tower. Watch out, White. That is one enraged P.E.K.K.A. And look at the tower. That was just a second or so, and that tower was history. And it wasn't just the P.E.K.K.A., but those individual skeletons and the princess, all of those, especially the enraged units right on the tower, that were so devastating to that tower. And yes, White has a huge hole he's got to dig himself out of, and he only has about a minute and a half to do it. What White does have going for him, however, is one of the two best comeback decks in the game, in my opinion. Golem and Sparky, a couple of great cards for coming from way behind and either 2 or 3 crowning for the win. And here comes the Golem from the far back right. He's going after the healthier of the two towers, obviously trying to protect his right tower at the same time. And Le Merciful with a merciless P.E.K.K.A. coming out to meet that Golem. But of course, White's deck is called the Golem Swarm for a reason. All of those small units soon to join the Golem on their way towards the tower. And the Golem with a one-track mind getting all the way to the tower at full size, getting a lot of damage in. Look at all of the minions just barely skirting that poison spell. That was a great job of deploying by White. The minions surviving and just about finishing off that P.E.K.K.A. And it's definitely going to fall before it gets to the tower, and that is key. You don't want that right tower to fall to a similar fate like you saw the left tower just a few seconds ago. The Witch, however, has gotten through, getting some solid damage on that tower, and White once again dropping the Golem, this time right in front of the tower, and things don't look much better than they did a minute ago. Both right towers have seen about the same amount of damage. The Golem trying for another run at the tower. The P.E.K.K.A. getting in there to defend once again. Princesses from both sides. Golem once again getting there full size. But check out the clock. Less than 10 seconds remain. The minions are getting in there, and sure enough, as time counts down, White just barely ties it at about 3 seconds remaining and forces it into overtime. Now he's got to try to either 3 crown and, of course, immediately stop all of this damage on his tower. The Lumberjack gets in, but luckily for White, the Lumberjack is all by his lonesome, and the Witch is only just barely going to get a chance to use that rage spell before it expires, and White dodges a big bullet right there as we have 35 seconds left in overtime. And for me, if I'm White right now, I am doing nothing but trying to defend this right tower. Here comes the P.E.K.K.A. from that middle deployment. He drops the Golem down the left, and watch him draw the P.E.K.K.A. away from the tower right here. With those minions, everybody drawing the P.E.K.K.A. away. It never gets a shot off on either tower. And in the meantime, here comes the big bad Golem. 127 hit points left on his tower on the right-hand side. Just a miner would do the trick. 59 left. The Witch, and no, he gets the tower down on the left-hand side. The Golem combined with the minions and the minion horde give White the improbable win. All right, let's move on to another member of Full Attack. This time it's Matt going up against that player there. A couple of level 10s, and Matt with a different deck than what we saw last time. This time, both players using the mini P.E.K.K.A. Now, Matt has a Hog Rider focused deck, and we would call his opponent's deck the miner based deck. But right here, Matt dropping the poison spell. He's trying to control the amount of elixir coming out of that collector. Obviously, again, if you don't have a collector, you've got to either somehow put too much pressure on your opponent to drop a lot of those collectors or damage the collectors so that they don't get that huge advantage on you late in the battle. But right here, the advantage is going to be the opponent as the barbarians and the miner get to that tower. The tower is severely damaged. Sure enough, it is going to fall just about a minute into this battle, and Matt is way behind, only having gotten about 900 hit points on his opponent's tower. So again, another hole to dig out of, but the lesson learned in these battles is never give up, never say die. Don't quit battles like this because you never know when you're going to be able to put together that push and at the very least tie things up, and that is exactly what Matt is trying right here. He's got the full attack attitude and he's going to refocus, reset, gather his elixir, gather his thoughts, and try to figure out a way to come back. Now, once again, he's got the poison spell immediately on the elixir collector. I like to see to try to get more value when you can, but he's chosen right here just to make sure his opponent doesn't build up too much. Almost gets the bonus of the princess walking into it, his opponent waiting just long enough to deploy her that she doesn't step into that sticky ooze. All right, so it's a miner down the left-hand side. He's trying again with a minion horde. Things don't look good. He's got a mini P.E.K.K.A in there to stop the miner. The zap spell key right there, as were the goblins for stopping that big push. And here comes this mini P.E.K.K.A trying to get her to the tower. She gets one shot off, but watch the right lane, the Hog Rider. Matt, knowing that he's got to dual lane push because he wants to win this thing. He just doesn't want to tie it. And the Hog Rider can't quite get the job done. Just 50 hit points remaining on the right tower. The left tower having seen a lot of damage now. Matt suddenly not looking like he's in such a bad situation, especially because the barbarians were forced on defense. They are going to fall against the princess and the king's tower, and Matt using that cross lane defender, the princess placed on the left, defends against the barbs on the right, and now she can join the other units down the left hand side in a final push for the left tower. There goes a mini P.E.K.K.A. There goes the barbarians. Just a few goblins down the right. One spear should be enough. Right tower down, ties it up. 10 seconds left. All of the damage on the left tower, and yes, Matt taking the 2-1 lead with 7 seconds left. Time runs out, and from 0-2 to 2-1 in just a matter of seconds, Matt's full attack gets the job done and gives him the last second victory. All right, we're going to move on to an unusual replay. Now, this is a replay that I actually pulled from TV Royale, not something that I usually do, but I wanted to share this with you guys. Perhaps you missed it. I know a lot of people saw it in-game, but I'm guessing most of you did not see this one. If you had, you would probably remember it. Johnny from Reddit Troopers with the Mortar deck. Now, this is a relatively recent post-Mortar nerf, a balancing update, and he's bringing a very unusual deck facing the Royal Giant. He's got the Mortar, the Cannon, and the Rocket, so many would consider this an extremely dirty deck. But just check out the exchange of hit points here, and how this battle wraps up is pretty much unbelievable. Now, it starts out normally enough with the Mortar user getting one of his towers beaten down pretty severely, so that's as to be expected. Lots of people rooting for the Mortar person to lose right away. But this battle is far from over. 2 minutes left. The guy on the top of the screen has dropped an elixir collector in the back corner, and obviously he already knows that he's facing a Mortar user. He doesn't know he's got the Rocket in store or all of the other opponent's cards, but the Mortar usually enough to enrage an opponent. And yes, the 3000 player up there also has Sparky at the ready. So a couple of unusual decks, and that's a big reason that you will see replays like this making it to TV Royale. There goes Johnny's right-hand tower. The mini P.E.K.K.A sneaking around that Royal Giant. Such an unusual combination. And there goes the Rocket, and that is going to save Johnny from what was almost a 3-crown loss about a minute and a half into this battle. You can see the King's Tower down under 1,000 hit points, and of course, you would think this battle is all but over. If I'm Johnny, again, I'm probably giving up. But of course, the battle is going to rage on, and we are just about to go into double elixir with these two extremely unusual decks. And just as you would expect, the opponent dropping the Royal Giant to go after that King's Tower gets it under 500 hit points, and there it's down to 300, 149, basically one shot away from this battle being over. One shot from a princess, just about anything else other than a strong breeze is going to bring this battle to its end. But the opponent not giving up, throwing down the mortar to defend, throwing down the cannon as well. This time the giant doesn't get a single shot off, and we're just about done with regulation. And the opponent just needs one more strike from just about any unit to end this battle, and that is where this is just completely unbelievable. Johnny building a giant roadblock down the right-hand bridge, stopping that royal giant in its tracks. It never even gets anywhere near the water. Big push coming down the right-hand side. The barbarians, a couple of ice wizards, a rocket actually ends up being overkill, but with 1 second left, the battle is tied up, and the rocket wasn't even necessary. Now it's a huge leftover push, pushing in on that King's Tower, and it's unbelievable. This has just barely been tied, and again, this opponent suddenly, with 376 left on his own King's Tower, tries again with a Royal Giant, but there goes the rocket across the sky, ending the battle. Johnny with an improbable, almost impossible come-from-behind win from 0-1 to 3-1. So do let me know, you guys, if you have a battle like this that you've been in or a clanmate has been in, or even that you see on TV Royale and you think I just shouldn't miss. Tweet me at GaladonCoc, leave a message in the comments, find me somehow, some way. I will give you a shout out in a future episode. For now, shout out to everybody who made it to the end of this episode, and I hope to see you all back here again tomorrow for more full attacks.
Galadon, I don't need your filthy shout out. I can shout myself.